What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla SPY, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's happening with the overall market moving forward and talk about big factors involving the markets for tomorrow, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, looking at NIO, we look quite decent right now, trying to hold above this support. We're going to be watching to see if this yellow trend line holds as we progress going into tomorrow. But what is a good sign is the fact that we are forming a nice cup and handle like structure. So in order for this to break out, going to see NIO get back above that 4.14 resistance. If we break past that, I could be looking for a push towards 4.31 and eventually 4.5. If we don't, if we end up losing the yellow trend line, we could be dipping back down. So it depends on the big test coming out for tomorrow. But this chart does look a little bit more bullish from a technical standpoint. So the question is, what data is coming out for tomorrow? What news is coming out for NIO? I want to talk about that first before I break down the charts in more details. Tomorrow's going to be Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. Please note that at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the consumer confidence report, and then some manufacturing numbers from the Richmond Fed. Everything is very, very minor, and there's nothing too crazy coming out. But look for some volatility at 10 and 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have some manufacturing shipments, and not to mention Fed services data coming out. This isn't a significant piece of data, but it might cause some volatility. So look for that at those specific times. Besides that, there's not really anything else that's too crazy. We do have some housing data coming out before the market opens, but it's very minor, might not affect the market too much. As far as earnings go, please note that for tomorrow we have some minor banks announcing earnings, nothing too crazy, but the big day is going to be on Wednesday when we have Nvidia's earnings. Now, the fear and greed index is currently at neutral. We were getting very close to greed. Now we're kind of dipping a little bit in the markets, which is why this is still kind of shifting. Market is still greedy. We came close to all-time highs, only to slow down a little bit. And then on top of this, I just want to mention that the puts and call option positioning is still kind of flat. We're seeing the ratio going up just a slight bit. If the market sees a bigger decline, this could go up higher. We're still waiting for confirmation. And the VIX is still kind of flat. We're waiting to see how that ends up developing as well. So I'll be watching all of that very carefully. Right now, there's a 68% chance we get a 25 basis point cut and a 32% chance we get a 50 basis point cut. According to the markets, that's what they're pricing in. For NIO, I didn't see much news come out. I'm seeing a lot of attention for the EC6 as it's getting a lot of attention for people out there. We're starting to see a lot more talk about how it could be used for camping and ventures just like that. On top of that, we had some important words that came out from William Lee Bin, the CEO of NIO, and he talked about how basically rapid model upgrades may undermine consumer trust. And he's talking about why this is very important. So basically, one thing that's happening is every single year we're seeing new vehicles coming out. There's a lot of competition in China, and that is the truth. So in order for stocks like or companies like NIO to really keep up with all this demand, if you guys look at it, they can't just develop a car and then expect it to be up to date even as years go by. So cars are innovating in a lot of different ways. So one of the things that he added is that manufacturers they need a more systematic thinking process, and that's going to be very important for software updates. So old systems have to be upgraded so that they could once again be up to speed with what on earth is coming out next, and that's the new norm that NIO has to be incorporating. So that's why NIO is now working with intelligent systems that integrate hardware and software, and to make long-term maintenance of its products possible, they're going to be thinking a lot about the long-term for their products. They don't want to just sell a car that gets out of date after 1 or 2 years. They want to continue to give it the necessary software and hardware updates to make them very, very viable for many, many years. So that's what they're working on. It's very complex and costly for them to kind of work through this, but this is what they're going to be prioritizing just so that they could keep up with the market and the competition that's being built in China. On top of this, Bank of America Securities gave us a neutral rating. That's essentially the same as yesterday. Tuesdays are known for being good days for NIO. 55% of the time we're green, and we tend to see more volatility at 1 p.m. than during the final hour of the day. Volume is still flat at 26 million, so the question is what's happening from here? We look more bullish as we have this low here, we made a higher high. We made this higher low. We didn't break the high yet, but we're just kind of consolidating. We have a nice wedge that's forming right here, and this also kind of aligns with a nice cup and handle. So it looks a little bit more bullish from a technical standpoint, but we haven't broken some key resistance yet. If you lose 4 at the 50 EMA, we're going to be looking for 3.8. And if we manage to continue to uptrend above our yellow trend line, this will likely be testing 4.14. If that breaks, we're going up towards 4.28. So overall, this has a cup and handle. We have a nice looking structure that's bullish. This is favoring the upwards direction. I am favoring upside for NIO if we could break 4.14. And I think there's a chance it may continue to do so based off the pattern. But like I said in my earlier video, it depends on if we could hold above this yellow resistance, previous resistance becoming support from a different level. But for now, this is going to be our support. If we could hold above this support, the yellow support right over here, that's going to be very, very pivotal for NIO. So I think there's a good chance we may attempt to hold this. Watch tomorrow for confirmation the market may affect this, especially as we had bad news involving the EV sector, because Canada is going to be increasing tariffs on Chinese imports. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if we can hold this or not. The chart does favor upside. A break past 4.14 would take us higher. So we'll see. But overall, the market, on the other hand, is looking a little bit weaker. SPY is looking a little bit more bearish on the 4-hour time frame. I think there's a good chance we're going to be testing 5584 tomorrow, but we'll see if we bounce or not off that support. It's going to be a big test. The last time we hit our green 20 EMA, I have this green line right here. This is our 20 EMA. We got a nice bounce. So are we going to dip and then bounce this time as well? Excuse me. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think we might dip a little bit tomorrow to hit 558, and we'll see if we bounce off that on SPY or not. To turn bearish, you want to see us lose that 556 zone. If we lose that, I'll be looking for a dip. If we hold above it, we could try to bounce, but I think that there's going to be a small dip tomorrow. We'll see if we bounce off 558 or not. On SPX, it's the same thing, or sorry, ES, not SPX. We're rejecting off our 20 EMA, and I do see a risk of us kind of dipping lower. We could get very close to the lower 5600s, which could lead to some more downside in the markets, but we'll see if we bounce off that or not. That's going to be our key support. On Nvda, we're just range bound. We have support at 123 and resistance at 130. We're stuck in the middle, so we'll just have to give this some time just to see which way we go. Overall, because we're stuck in the middle, if we end up losing support, there's going to be a big dip if 122 fails us. So we're kind of stuck right now, so we'll just have to give it the time it needs. In my personal opinion, I think we're going to just remain range bound. I do see a risk of this dipping lower looking at the red bar that came from today, but it's going to most likely just remain range bound for now. So if we do dip a little bit, look at a bounce off support. Bitcoin's losing the 20 EMA. We've got to reclaim 63,360 by tomorrow. If not, we're at risk of dipping to the 62,000 area, which I think we're going to likely do. So there's going to be likely some downside coming. Tesla keeps getting these rejections of these key supports. Notice we had this big white trend line. This was our support right over here, which Tesla ended up breaking. And now it's showing a little bit of weakness as this high, this resistance is basically stopping us. So we could even try to redraw this, but you could see we came short of reaching this trend line. So from the way I see things, this is favoring downside a little bit more. It might try to rebound tomorrow, and we'll see if the move continues to move lower. Notice that we popped and dropped 3 times in a row, and this could be forming a inverse cup and handle. So there could be a test coming towards that 210 area. We'll see if we bounce or not. If we lose that, there's going to be a dip coming to Tesla. So just be very careful with the chart thus far. These big bars typically lead to some downside. So there's going to be a risk with that. So please keep that in the back of your guys' minds. For others out there like the QQQ, I just want to say we look a little bit weaker right here. We have like a head and shoulders like structure. We're dipping a little bit. We're going to be looking to see the support, if it could hold us very close to this 471 area. If we lose that, there's going to be a bigger dip coming into the 460s. So I see a risk of us dipping down towards 472 or so. We might dip a little bit lower, and we'll see if we bounce off our 50 EMA. So we're barely holding support right now. We'll see how well this does, but there is a risk of downside. Apple's range bound. If we break 228, look for a push. If we lose 223.8, we could be dipping. My gut tells me we consolidate, but there might be a little bit of a dip coming towards the 225 area, and we might just continue to consolidate. So we'll just have to give this some time just to see how things develop. For the IWM Russell 2000, we have this resistance at 222, and we have key support at 220. If that fails us, we're going to be looking for 217. If we break 221, we could be pushing for 222, but this looks a little bit more bearish. Might come down to 220. We'll see if we bounce or not. So I could see a little bit more downside coming, but we will see if the support holds. That's going to be another big test for tomorrow. If not, there's going to be a bigger decline. We're barely at support on Coinbase. We're at 203. If 203 fails us, we're going to be dipping down towards closer to 198. If we hold this, we could rebound for 208. My gut tells me this might dip lower and get closer to 200 flat. So it looks a little bit more bearish. So we'll see what the move ends up being. Amazon has a head and shoulders like structure. If we don't hold 175, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 172. If we hold this, we could be looking for 176.5, but this looks a little bit more bearish to me. For Meta, we're dipping a little bit. We're going to be watching to see this 519 area. If we don't hold above that, we're at risk of seeing 515 and 508. If we do hold this, we could be looking for basically 527. This, however, is a bearish divergence and looks a little bit weaker to me. For Microsoft, we have a bearish structure developing, kind of like a head and shoulders. One thing worth mentioning is we need to reclaim 417 to turn back up. Otherwise, we're at risk of tipping, and I do see the risk of us going down towards 411, if not down to this imbalance towards 407. So watch for that very carefully. For Google's once again, it attempted to push. Now it's starting to dip into afters. We'll have to see if we can try to hold above 168. If we don't reclaim 168, if we do so, we're going to go up to 170. If we don't, I see us dipping down to 166 and eventually back down to 165. So we'll see which way this ends up going. We're kind of stuck in this range right now. There's a big range right over here that's also been developing. We were attempting to hold this structure. Now it's like looking a little bit weaker there. So I think this might not actually hold as well. I might actually just delete this just for reference. You can see how resistance is really, really like slowing this down. So like right over here on this 168 area, it's been struggling to hold above that. And then we're just kind of range bound right now. If you actually just look at this, we're just completely stuck within these ranges right here. So I think we're going to likely just remain range bound for now, and then we'll see what the move happens to be. Two more for AMC and GameStop before I conclude the video. GameStop looks more bearish right now. Could be dipping all the way down towards, if 21 does not hold us, I think we're going down towards 20.7. And for AMC, we're flat at 5.05. If 5.03 does not hold, we're going down to 4.97. So we'll see how things go. With that being said, guys, I want to thank you all so much for listening. NIO is once again trying to uptrend. We're trying to hold above our yellow supports, but just notes that with the cup and handle leg structure, although there is some upside potential in this, watch your support for confirmation for a big test for tomorrow. And we'll see how things go. Let's hope it holds for this thing to continue higher. If not, get ready for the next supports I called out. Thank you for listening. I think that right now the chart is looking a little bit more bullish from a technical standpoint. We're making higher lows. So as long as that continues tomorrow, we are going to remain bullish, and it is favoring the upside for now. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys very soon, and peace out.